The following is a special presentation of the Sports Journey Network. Sports Journey.
We are back for another episode of The Breakdown. I'm your host, Dujunnea Bland. And of course, we have the boss in the building. What's going on, boss?
What's up? I am here.
She's here.
Yes. I always make my obligations. That's one thing I do.
Exactly. And a team that's been making more obligations than the Lakers are the Washington Wizards.
The Washington Wizards. Who thought that we would be at this point talking about the Wizards being 10-4? They are off to their best start since 1975. 1975. Okay?
Long time.
That is a long time. New coach, new attitude, new pieces, a lot more depth, and the Wizards are doing it right now. Now, they had a 5-game winning streak that came to an end yesterday versus the Hornets, but, you know, you have to expect them to lose some along the way, right?
Exactly.
But nonetheless, this team hits different. I wrote about that for sportsjourney.com, and
go check that out.
I've been covering the Wizards for multiple seasons at this point, and this is the best the team has looked. It's not just about them putting the wins up. It is the confidence that they have. They got guys that came from the Lakers, Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma, KCP. They also brought in Aaron Holiday, and then they drafted Corey Kispert. So they made some moves in the offseason, but these guys have been really contributing since they've gotten here, especially Montrezl Harrell and Kyle Kuzma in particular. Kyle's been hot on the threes as well.
He has.
Very hot on the threes. And not to mention, they have not had Bradley Beal in 3 games this season.
That's what's really impressive.
Right. Once because he was injured earlier in the season, and then these past 2 games, condolences to him. He lost his grandmother, and he just returned for the Hornets matchup. But they were still winning without their star player, which, like you said, is impressive. So I've done a lot of talking. DJ, what are your thoughts on what you have seen thus far?
I'm liking what Kuzma, all those former Lakers have done. Mm-hmm. They didn't really show those things in LA. Could that be a testament to coaching? I'm starting to think so, because I'm telling you, Washington looks good on Kuzma. He looks really good on Kuzma. There are 2 noticeable things that I want to bring out.
Mm-hmm.
Adjustments.
Yes.
Something that was not going on last year. And defense. Something that was not going on last year.
Not just last year, the past few years.
I was being nice. They are shooting. In the month of October, they shot 44% from the field, 32% from 3, 80% from free throw line. Now, November, they have upped their game from the field goal percentage to 46.8%, 32% from the field still. They're a little bit lower on the free throws, but it's early yet, and I'm not complaining. These guys are balling, and I did not expect them to be where they are, but it's a testament to me to the decisions that this team has, this organization has made to bring in Unseld Jr. And it shows what a good coach can do with talent that they have. And they did acquire some really good talent from the Lakers.
And what's Unseld Jr.'s strong suits coming into this position was defense and developing players. And so far, we're seeing that. And you spoke of defense, and the Wizards have held, they held the other night the Cavaliers to 94 points, the Magic to 92 points, and even last night they held the Hornets to 97 points. It was just, ironically, the games where they have lost, it's been their offense that hasn't been clicking when they lost, which is a different side of the coin because, like you said, we're so used to talking about defense. They've been fairly good on defense consistently, which is great.
I want you to put to rest this ridiculousness that I see people talking about that they can win without Bradley Beal. Can we stop that nonsense? Like, give me a break.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that they were able to win without Bradley Beal. Like, that's what a complete team should be able to do. If their superstar goes down for any reason, they should still be able to win. But you don't want to be without Bradley Beal for 70-something games.
No.
Yeah, so people just need to chill. It was 3 games, okay?
Exactly. And I really like this for Bradley Beal for the simple fact that I think this takes a lot of pressure off of him. Something that I think he had a lot of, even with Westbrook in the building. There's a lot that he was being asked to do. Now he doesn't feel like he has to do it. It can just come natural in the flow of the game. There's a lot of things collectively as a team that they're doing well on both ends of the floor. And that's something that hasn't been seen over the years. And it's being consistent in doing that as well. Something that my team, the Lakers, can't seem to establish. So if they can continue this pace, as we see they are improving in their field goal percentage this month, if we're continuing to see an upward trend, they could really make some noise for once in the playoffs and really be talked about as a contender here as we are going through this season.
Absolutely agree. And I want to go back to something you said about Kyle Kuzma, because Kyle did an interview with one of the local reporters, Chris Miller. He was on our Triple W podcast last season. And he was talking just about how a lot of guys that leave the Lakers, they do better. And he said because within the Lakers, there's no real time and patience for development of players, right? You know, the Lakers are pretty much a win now team. It's all about the championship. You know, it's not about developing players. Right. And so he mentioned that's why you see former Lakers that go to other teams and excel. And I think we're seeing the same thing with him.
I like that. And that is definitely showing to be true. He really didn't have time to get his feet under him. You had to hit the ground running. And I think a little bit of the LA life can be a distraction a little bit. I mean, but Washington can be the same. But I think there is a very good team camaraderie that we're seeing with this Wizards team, and it's showing on and off the court with just how they carry. I've seen a couple of interviews with the reporters, how Kuzma's just handling things so much better, which we didn't really see that in LA. But I'm happy for him and definitely happy for the Wizards at this point. Fans need to see this. And I think this is a really good start for a team that has been, in an organization that's been begging for this type of a performance from this ball club.
Yeah, they are playing for each other. And it's just interesting because I don't even think they knew how well their chemistry would come together. In the beginning of the season, Kyle Kuzma was saying, it's probably going to take 20 games for us to kind of get a groove. But that hasn't been the case. And they all say, I think it was Bradley Beal actually who said, you know, just imagine when they really have their chemistry completely together. He was like, it's going to be scary.
I agree. They really are ahead of the game. But we all know once you get that sixth sense, so to speak, where you're not thinking, you know where your guy's going to be at a certain moment. It is going to be scary because right now they're right in the top tiers of the Eastern Conference, and it's pretty awesome to see. But yeah, it's the Wizards, guys.
I know the Wizards are number one in the Eastern Conference. They do have a test coming up. So what'll be very interesting is to see how they handle their matchup against the Heat. And I say that because what we have seen is when the Wizards lose, they bounce back the next game. So I want to see if we're going to witness that same pattern. Are they going to bounce back with the Heat? I know the Heat have some injuries, so hopefully that works in our favor. But also, last night, the Hornets killed the Wizards with their zone defense. Yes. So the Heat like to play zone defense. So if the Heat, saw that last night, they might be thinking to themselves, like, let's amp up that zone defense. So we'll see how the Wizards adjust. I mean, Wes Unseld Jr., he noticed the defensive switch-ups, how it really killed the Wizards. So I'm sure he's going to address that. But it'll be interesting to see how they relate it on the court.
Yeah, it really will be. And it will be a pretty good test for them coming up tonight with the Heat. So maybe they'll go to 11-5. We will see.
That would be ideal.
Well, when we come back from this break, the Washington football team. Who the heck was that on Sunday? We'll talk about it when we come back. Washington football team beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And not just beat them. They pretty much dismantled them. Wow. I know a lot of people were talking about, they picked it and all of that. Look, this isn't a game that was pickable. Any smart reporter, other than folks who like to homer it up, likely would have picked against the Washington football team for very good reasons. But this defense, again, took another step forward. The offense, which struggled in the red zone, struggled to sustain drives, did just that. Let me throw a couple numbers out here. Washington kept the Bucs 33% in the red zone. They were 1 for 3. They had 5 sacks. They only had the 2 interceptions, and they were 3 for 33 yards on penalties. All those things are very important. Washington on third down was 57.9% on third down. They were 11 of 19 on offense. The defense held the Bucs to 40%. They were 4 of 10 on third down. Taylor Heineke, 26 of 32. He was at 82% completion percentage. 110.4 quarterback rating. No sacks allowed, by the way, by this offensive line. What went right, and why did all of this come together, Carita?
Well, it looks like they took their bye week seriously. And I mean, Coach Rivera said going into the bye week that he had a list of things that he wanted to look at and wanted to address. And based on their performance on the field, it looks like he did just that. I will say I am very impressed by the fact that they were able to make those adjustments in the bye week and come out and actually execute, because we all know it's not easy to beat Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? I know it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but Tom Brady is at the helm, and I know, I definitely was one of those people that thought it would be a blowout. I'm not even going to lie.
I did too.
Because I could only base it on the way the team had been playing up to that point.
Exactly.
But they came out, they handled business. Like you said, the offense was efficient. They were spreading the ball around. You had DeAndre Carter, Antonio Gibson, Terry McLaurin. Like, everyone contributed on the offensive side of the ball. The defense, they kept the pressure up. Tom Brady was never comfortable that entire game. They took advantage of the turnovers as well. That's very important.
Something they hadn't been doing this season a lot. Not taking advantage of good field positions or turnovers.
Right. So doing that was key. I was a little worried at first because they were only coming away with like 3 points.
Me too.
But then they started getting the touchdowns, and I'm like, okay, you got to get touchdowns against this team. But they made it work. They scored on, I believe, every possession.
I believe they did.
Yeah, at some point. So they were, obviously some touchdowns, some field goals. Let's talk about the kicker though, Joey Slye.
That's where I was going.
Oh, we were going the same place. I mean, all I'm going to say is it's nice to make some field goals and extra points.
It is.
Because we have definitely seen it all.
But where was Slye before you decided to pick a guy who lived up to his last name?
Who knows?
I mean, I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but come on, man. Like, Slye was out there before you picked Mr. Blewett. So, I mean, you could have picked Slye to begin with.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about either. I can't lie. Coach Rivera, some of his decision making on the kicker side of the ball has definitely been a little shaky, but
suspect.
Hopefully you got it right.
Hopefully so. He looked calm, cool, and collected. Everything looked fluid. He didn't look like he was nervous out there. Made the kicks that needed to be made. Every one of those, especially the first two, were very important. I tell you what was impressive about this game the most, though. It's something that, first of all, like you said, coming out of a bye week, we know this team has never been that great coming out of a bye week. It's actually been kind of embarrassing when they come out of a bye week. But that drive at the end, 10 minutes and 26 seconds. And not only do they go down and get it in the red zone, they decide that they're going to go for it on fourth down, and they're going to go to get the touchdown. Because I was a little concerned. If you kick the 3, then you give 31 seconds, and yes, this defense has played great all day, but we know we've seen the obligatory blown coverage in 31 seconds, and the team gets down in scoring position and able to take the game away, which they had won. And they put the dagger in by going for it on fourth down. It was a great play call. They get the touchdown, and boom, over. I mean, we haven't seen this team do that in years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it has literally been years. I can't remember the date off the top of my head. Washington PR, they sent it out. I can't remember the year, I'm sorry, off the top of my head. But yes, it has been a long time since we have seen that drive.
Now, they're going to play the Carolina Panthers. And Carolina, we know, is a place where Ron Rivera coached. I don't know if it's such a big deal as it's being made of, but I'm sure he wants to get the win, especially now with KO being back in the building.
Yeah, that's a very bizarre situation.
Do you think that they can duplicate what they did on Sunday in Carolina?
You know, I think they can to a certain extent, but I am not going to lie. I think that it's going to be tough to beat Carolina on Sunday, with this being Cam Newton's first game back at the Bank of America Stadium. You know the fans are going to be absolutely bananas.
Yes.
And, you know, CMC is back.
Yeah.
I heard there's some injuries on the defense, but I still think the defense is playing pretty good for Carolina. Washington, now granted, we still pulled it out without Chase Young last weekend, but Chase Young is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. He wasn't necessarily playing up to his abilities this season, but he was still making plays.
He was.
Not having him against Cam Newton, I believe, is going to be a bit more of a problem, because I remember in the preseason game, it was Chase Young that was giving Cam Newton issues.
Right. Exactly.
Right? And you don't have Montez Sweat either. Now, I don't think that we're going to see Washington go out there and completely fall apart. I don't think that at all. Based on what I saw against Tampa Bay, I 110% think they're going to be competitive. But I think that Carolina defense is going to give Taylor Heineke some issues.
The numbers. They are first in pass defense. They only allow 173 yards per game. Rushing, they are 12th. They allow 107 yards per game. Now, Washington is 15th in the rushing department as far as, you know, what they can gain during the game. But they don't pass very well. They're like 20th, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on. Got the number. They are 20th. 230 yards per game.
Who's 20th, though?
The Washington football team.
Okay,
I
thought
at these
so.
numbers backwards.
I thought so, because, yeah, we don't pass very well.
No. And that's going to be a problem against a team that doesn't allow a lot of passing yards. Right. And then they're at home. I've been to that stadium. It can be loud.
This is a different kind of home game, though.
It is.
This is a different kind of home game. This is like going to be legit, I feel, like a playoff atmosphere.
It's a homecoming game.
Exactly. And, you know, I just feel... So I was on our homie Wole. I was on his show after the game last Sunday. And him and Glenn, who is also on the show, you know, they picked Washington to win. I still am going to go with Carolina in this instance, because I think if Cam Newton has to put that team on his back, he's going to do it. He wants that win on Sunday.
Yeah. He said he's back. And he looked like he was back.
If Arizona Cardinals, because we're also, from what I can see in his press conferences, dealing with a different Cam Newton as well. It seems like he had to do some self-reflection during this time of not playing.
Yes.
So it's just going to be interesting. I think it'll be a good game, though. I think it'll be a great game. It will be.
I'm expecting them, Cam and the Carolina Panthers, are probably 31 points. I do believe that Washington can put up some points. If going off of last week, will it be of the tune of 24 plus, I'm not sure. I say give them about 17 to 20 points. If they score any more than that, it will be a bonus. But I do think this is a Carolina game that they will win. To close this out, there's been a lot of talk amongst fans about if Rivera loses this game, it looks bad against him because he did not sign Cam Newton. Now, I would be the first one to say that I felt like he should have signed Cam. But here's the issue, and this is something that hasn't been talked about. If Rivera signs Cam and the Washington football team does not have success and they put up a losing season, now we're going to have Rivera talked about as being on the hot seat because he went back to the well and got a guy that he's worked with, and then it looks like it was a complete failure. And if it looks like a complete failure, now him as a coach looks like a complete failure as well. And then there's rumblings of him being on the hot seat. So to avoid all of that, to protect your coach, to protect what you're building, he doesn't bring Cam Newton into the situation. We know how it is for coaches in this league. It's not for long. What do you think about that?
I think that it's a no-win situation, right? If he would have brought Cam here, to your point, and they would have had a losing season, it would have been like, oh, he shouldn't have brought Cam. He should have had a fresh start, you know. Yep. And then if they would have won, it would have been the greatest decision ever. I just think, you know, Rivera, he took himself out of that seesaw pretty much. It's interesting because it's funny. I was talking to my mom recently, and she was like, you know, I can respect Ron Rivera more than the Panthers in the sense that he made a decision, you know, that he wasn't going to bring Cam, and he stuck with his decision, unlike the Panthers.
Exactly.
So
you had to eat a dose of humble pie, the whole thing.
So that was definitely an interesting perspective in the sense of, I mean, don't get me wrong, you got to do what you got to do, and Carolina brought him back, but, right, they made that decision and ultimately didn't end up sticking to it, but Ron Rivera is sticking to his decision, and from my perspective, I like Cam. I think he's a great quarterback. He doesn't bother me as far as all of the whole dressing and this and that. But the truth of the matter is, I think with the Washington football team franchise, Ron Rivera was brought here to change the culture. And there were other factors at hand besides football. And naturally, Cam Newton is a guy that attracts attention from media, fans, etc. So I just think that to avoid all of that, he wanted to start over. And that's fair.
I agree with you on that.
And I also feel like we don't know what Ron Rivera might know from his relationship with Cam. Not saying that there's anything wrong, but you know, he knows Cam very well, and maybe he just didn't think that this would be a good situation for him.
Exactly. I 100% agree with that. Especially you're looking at it from a PR standpoint and a reporter standpoint. So yeah, I agree with that assessment. I just think it's going to be bad one way or the other. And if it fails, it makes him look really bad. And they're trying to build something here. Like you said, change the culture. And you can't do that if you're going back to the well doing some of the things you used to do. And if those things you used to do fail, we know we're dealing with a fragile fan base as it is. And you're slowly starting to get them back. That would be detrimental to what the organization is trying to do.
Absolutely.
And with that, the show is over. Man, another one down. And again, we thank you so much for your listenership as we do these shows. Without you, we're nothing. So we thank you so much. Carita, Tell them what you got going on, all the many things you've got going on.
Well, right now, it's a lot of Wizards. The Wizards are the big buzz right now, so you can catch my Wizards content in a couple places, sportsjourney.com. There's the Triple W podcast, that's at Triple W Pod on all social media platforms. And then, of course, there is the continuous work I do on doubletakesports.com. So be sure to follow that page at DBL Take Sports on all social media platforms.
And
What
please
about
do.
you, Jay?
Please do.
Got popped.
For me, you know what it is. This is podcast. Right, you catch me right here on the breakdown with the boss. And you can also catch me on Ghostcast, as I have my own show over there talking NHRA and other hot topics. It's called the Not Bland Show. If you do not have the Ghostcast app, I suggest you get in now, because it's only going to improve. I'm enjoying doing that, and be on the lookout, because here real soon we are going to be bringing back something that Sports Journey has been doing for years, but we can do it to where you can hear it. I'm not going to say what it is just yet, but we will be bringing back something special. We'll be having some NHRA driver interviews. Just because the season is over, it doesn't stop. So we will be bringing that to you real soon, and I will be making that announcement soon. And lastly, please check out the Triple W podcast. I cannot express that enough. Those women do an excellent job covering your Washington Wizards. They deserve all the support that they can get, because the quality is TV worthy.
Thank you.
All right? So please do that. It'd be greatly appreciated. For me and Carita Parks, the boss, this has been The Breakdown. Enjoy your nights, days, whatever that may be.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it.
Until next time.